Welcome, fellow travelers, to Fate's Wide Wheel. It is another preview show, and I'm joined by JJ Lendl. JJ, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited that there's new Quantum
Fantastic.
Leap this week.
Yeah, I know. It's bittersweet because it is the last one for a little while.
Yeah.
Now, I can say, at the risk of spoiling anything, I had the chance to chat with Dean Georgeris and Drew Lindo this past Saturday, and that will be dropping following Nomad on Wednesday night. And Dean said that he doesn't know for certain, but he does not believe that the wait will be too long for new episodes, which is great. He seems to kind of echo what I had mentioned a few weeks back on the podcast when I guessed that it would probably be late January, early February. So he seems to think that that'll probably be the case as well. Anything can happen, obviously, but at least the wait might not have to be too long. But Nomad will be the last one for a while anyway.
But it's going out on a high note for now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
What did you think? Non-spoiler review, real quick. What
Uh,
did you think?
Hands down, favorite of the season so far, without a doubt.
Nice.
Yeah, loved it.
Yeah.
And had a lot of fun making the poster for it, too.
Yes, I can't wait to talk about that, which we'll do for the Patreon behind the scenes video. And we're going to preview here in just a moment. But I agree. I thought it was so fantastic, and I just can't decide if it's this or Secret History that are my favorite of the season. With an honorable mention to Lonely Hearts Club, because I felt like that episode just did some really cool stuff that was very different, from a lot of the season. But
we don't have to pick a favorite.
That's right.
We
like
don't have
children
to do that.
in that way.
Yes. You can like lots of things at once. Even though it's the internet, we're allowed to do that.
Yes, I completely agree. Speaking of children, just want to send all of my very best to Drew Lindo, as he and his wife are expecting baby number 2.
Yay.
Pretty much as we record this. So that's very, very awesome for them. Yeah, I just think it's a great episode, and I can't wait to talk more about it. But before we do that, should we just show people what you've come up with for this episode?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Another JJ Lendl original inspired by episode 208 of Quantum Leap, and that is Nomad. Spoilers, I've already seen it, and I think it's fantastic. It's it's so perfect.
All right.
It's so perfect.
It was fun, it's a spy story, and it's a globe-trotting story, which is fun. We find the characters in overseas, and it's fun that the show is going to these different locations. It's something that the classic series didn't really get to do, save for a couple of odd episodes. I love the episode. Had a blast making the poster. These are going to be available now in the Fates Wide Wheels shop. So take a look at that. And then, as you said, we're going to talk more about this in the Patreon exclusive video. I'll take you behind the scenes on the making of this poster, which started in a very different place than where it ended up, is what I'll say.
Ooh. Very cool. And as a reminder, if you are not currently a patron of the show, you can head over to patreon.com/fateswidewheel and sign up at any level, and you'll get access to the behind the scenes videos. There are behind the scenes videos for A Kind of Magic and Secret History already available, as well as behind the scenes video for the Doctor Who 60th anniversary, the Daleks poster, which was a lot of fun to do. It was a lot of fun to talk about Doctor Who a few weeks ago. Of course, this time of year we do and we're going to do that in just a second, but I do want to just remind everyone, of course, at this time of year, before you send any money to this show, as appreciated as it is, make sure you're doing what you can, helping out in your community, whether you're donating time, gifts, money, whatever you can do. It is important, and at large, there are so many wonderful charities that are doing great work. Two of my particular favorites are the Trevor Project and Doctors Without Borders, which you can support. So hopefully you're finding a way to help, finding a way to be of service in some fashion. If after all that, though, you do want to support the show, like I said, head over to patreon.com/fateswidewheel. All of that money goes to supporting the show, making sure that, I can keep the lights on and pay for the the service that we're using right now to record this, for instance. So I'm very grateful, and I'm always very humbled by people that support the show that way. I genuinely am, and I really, really, truly appreciate it. So I certainly want to make it as good of an experience as possible, and I'm grateful to JJ for being able to facilitate that with these awesome behind the scenes videos and this collaboration. So head over there, whether it's $1 or more, you'll be able to check out all these videos. And if you decide you just want to head over, check out all the videos and then peace out, you can do that too. That's totally fine. But the videos are awesome and you should definitely check them out. I mean that. So yeah, but yeah, you're right. Speaking of Doctor Who, I mean, this isn't an episode about Doctor Who, but we should probably just at least mention it a little bit. We've had Star Beast, Wild Blue Yonder, and The Giggle, all three premiering, which was awesome because they premiered simultaneously on Disney Plus here in the States as they were airing over on BBC.
They finally figured it out.
So cool. I know, right? What did you think?
I unabashedly loved every single one. I loved each of them for a different reason, which is, right. I think, what that was the point, is that each of these specials has a completely different tone. And I cannot wait for Christmas, is what I'll say. And to sort of really, truly kick off this new era of Doctor Who with Ncuti and the 15th Doctor. And yeah, I mean, I don't even want to talk about, in case some listeners have not seen the last special, because it's just, I think my wife said, it's just like, let's just have the most fun and let's just give people, all the best things. And that's just kind of what it felt like over these three specials, which is great.
I completely agree. I love what you said about loving them for different reasons, because I thought that they definitely delivered in that way. But one of the things that I enjoyed so much too, of course, was seeing David Tennant back. But I love that the fact that, that this was, we got these three wonderful episodes. We got to see David Tennant back, and now we get to kind of move on to a new era. At the risk of spoiling anything, I'll just leave it at that. But like, it was great to see him for 3 episodes. But I'm kind of glad that we're not getting like 2 more seasons, necessarily of this. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely.
Like, I'm grateful that we're going to move on to
I would have been easily up for that, but yes.
I mean, I probably would have too. If that's what we were getting, I would have been like, this is awesome. But I guess in a way, I'm like, I don't know. I'm just so excited about what's next. I don't know. I love it all so damn much. I can't even. I love it. I love it so much that I ended up buying the limited edition collector's Blu-ray box set that they just put out.
Big honking box set.
Yeah, in spite of the fact that I already own the Blu-ray box sets of Smith and Capaldi and the Tennant, and you know what I mean? It's
but
like,
you've got to get those newly re-up-resed versions of series 1 through 4 and
that's
the specials.
Right. Well, and there's no Jodie Whittaker box set, and I was really hoping that they'd do a Whittaker box set the same way they did with the Matt Smith and the Capaldi box sets, because those sets are just so cool. Yeah, and I love the little extra features that they threw in on them, and yeah, they just look really nice, even though they're those kind of oblong, they're not, they don't go on a shelf, right? Yeah,
absolutely.
But so in lieu of that, I was like, all right, fine, let's just do this.
No, that's awesome. I was thinking about getting that too. I think what I'll probably do, because I do want the new upscaled, like re-upscaled versions of 1 through 4, is I'll probably just get the UK version of that, because they had a separate box set for that. Because I have all the steel books and in Blu-ray, and
I know.
So I'm pretty set with that. I'll have the 60th anniversary specials coming once they're out.
Yep.
And okay, if we want to talk a little bit more about Doctor Who,
sure,
they announced another animated reconstruction. Of course, of the Celestial Toymaker, which that character plays a huge part in the 3rd and final 60th anniversary special. So either great timing or the worst timing, because they didn't get it out before the 60th anniversary special airs. But I'm excited for that. Anytime that they can take hold of these stories that are lost and find a way to make it visual again. Telesnap recreations are nice, but to be able to see movement, to be able to see somewhat of a performance to be matched with the vocals that still exist from the episodes is always a treat. So I'm looking forward to that next year too. It's just like kids at a Doctor Who candy store right now.
I know. Well, and the wonderful thing is, because I don't know that they've detailed any of the features that will be on that animated reconstruction yet, but in general they'll usually put like the existing episodes on there, and in past they've even done a couple like telesnaps of the missing episodes. So if you can appreciate the animated ones, right? They're a lot of fun to watch, but if you want to go back and kind of see what we had in the dark ages,
right.
They're usually there as well. So I'm interested to see what they'll have on there.
I don't know, the colorized. They announced that I think the first disc is going to have the newly animated episodes in black and white, and also include the existing episode 4. I didn't see anything about telesnaps. Frankly, I'm not sure if Celestial Toymaker is a serial that has a lot of existing material for episodes 1 through 3.
You could be absolutely right about that, because I don't recall, that was not like ever one of the big ones, when you would go to like Loose Cannon or whatever and look through what was available. That seemed to be one that was more lost than others.
Some of these episodes, they don't have telesnaps. Some of them have behind the scenes photographs, which are not on air snaps. So it would just give you an idea of what the production looked like. But which of course that makes the job of the animators that much harder, because they have less reference to go off of. I feel like for having watched the Underwater Menace, did you have a chance to watch that one yet? The one that came out last month?
No, because, as we've discussed before, in spite of having my, DVD collection, the UK DVDs, I have not been buying the UK versions of like the Blu-rays and stuff like that, which I should have been doing, especially now that I know I can play them.
Yes.
No, I pre-ordered the region A version, so I'll just have to wait till the 9th of January.
Okay, so it's on its way. Okay, that's good. But what I'll tell you in advance is that for this one in particular, you could see that the production team took a little bit more liberties when it comes to the visuals of the original. They sort of expanded the world a little bit, because for the most part, a lot of these were shot on rinky-dinky 1960s BBC TV sets.
Right.
And for Underwater Menace, what they've done is they've expanded some of the environments that take place in the story. And I would say the only downside to that is that if you do what I like to do, which is watch the animated ones for the episodes that don't exist and watch the existing episodes that are on the disc as well, there can be a little bit of a lack of lining up for some of those places. But if you suspend disbelief, it's really great that they can sort of tell the stories with kind of like on a broader canvas, which is what's so great about animation in the first place.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree with that. And I think that one of the things that I don't mind is that kind of sort of, revisionism, if you want to say, when it comes to Doctor Who, or even like what they did with the original series of Star Trek, updating a lot of those special effects, because ultimately, it does make the world feel bigger. And while I will certainly be the first to say that I did not appreciate all the tinkering that George Lucas did with Star Wars, that certainly I can understand the motives for doing that, except for, Han Solo not shooting first. But other than that,
I think that Star Wars is interesting because, with things like Star Trek, the original series, and things like Doctor Who, I mean, like, if you buy the Star Trek Blu-rays, they've got the original versions cleaned up with the original effects right beside the remastered versions with the CG effects. And the same with Doctor Who. You can watch the animated ones, or you can watch the ones that exist. Yes, but Star Wars, I think the reason why that has become such a to-do among the fandom is that, George Lucas's policy for years was every new version is the only version. and we will not
Right.
be making those earlier versions available in, in high definition or in a restored capacity.
And it's heartbreaking. I mean, literally, I mean this. It's heartbreaking. I try not to think about it too much, but there literally will never be a 4K version of the original Star Wars because the elements no longer exist in order to do it, apparently.
Well, I think that the elements, there has been, I've read different uh, versions of this story, that the original negative was tampered with and things like that. But there are dupes. People have 35 millimeter prints of the original Star Wars from 1977. It's just a matter of restoration. And so, if Lucasfilm, if Disney decided, hey, enough people will pay enough money if we release the original cut of the 1977 Star Wars or the original 1980 version of Empire Strikes Back, they could do it, and it would look great.
I hope they do, and I hope they do it sooner rather than later, because the fact of the matter is that, like, most of the people that saw that movie when it was originally in theaters, they're late 50s to early 70s now.
Yeah.
And I think that time's a wasting if they're going to do it. So hey, maybe if Disney Plus continues to like lose subscribers, it'll motivate them to be like, how can we make money?
Yes,
that's how you're going to make money.
And you know what? It'll happen eventually. And it really, to a certain extent, it's a matter of preservation. And if you want to look at the big picture, there are plenty of films that are in greater need of preservation than the mammoth hit Star Wars, which has been released on disc a number of times, which we do have the original versions in some form. But,
Very true.
Such a cultural phenomenon. I think it's only a matter of time until, people will have the highest quality access possible to the way the film looked when it was released on opening day in 77. So I don't know how old I'll be at that time, but
here's a tangent, because we never do that on this show, but it's funny that you mentioned preservation, because Flicker Alley is a wonderful label that focuses on a lot of preservation efforts for films. And one of the films that they did some incredible restoration on in conjunction with UCLA Film School and Archives there is a film called Repeat Performance, which I just watched not too long ago. It's from 1947. It's a fantastic film, and it's unlike a lot of other films of that era, and it's very reminiscent of like an hour and a half long episode of The Twilight Zone. The premise involves a Broadway actress, and on New Year's Eve something happens. I won't spoil it, but basically she wakes up and finds that she is 1 year in the past. And so she gets to relive the entire year to try to make different choices.
Groundhog Year.
And it's funny because the write up, I watched it on the Criterion channel, and they licensed the film from Flicker Alley, which is also very cool. I'm glad that they're doing that sort of stuff as well. And they name check It's a Wonderful Life and Twilight Zone kind of in talking about the film. And of course, It's a Wonderful Life is, in my opinion, the greatest precursor to the Twilight Zone that exists. But anyway, so I agree with you that there are a film like that I never would have had the opportunity to see had somebody not been out there doing the preservation work that was done, and Flicker Alley not released it, and then Criterion Channel licensing it. So there are so many wonderful companies out there that are making those efforts and trying to preserve the history of film. So it's almost a shame. It takes me back in a way to, when the strike was ongoing and there was a lot of conversation surrounding these smaller studios that were, agreeing to everything that SAG-AFTRA was looking for in order to keep making films. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if they can do this, why aren't the bigger companies doing it? And now here we are in a situation where we're talking about preserving films, and you're absolutely right. There are films that really need it more than Star Wars. And luckily there are some films that are getting that, but it's like, if they can do that, then why the hell shouldn't, Disney or what, you know what I mean? It's like, why not preserve that art? And if the only answer that they can come up with is, it's not cost effective, then, maybe don't pay somebody $25 million a year. I don't know.
These are all sound pieces of business advice, Sam. We need to get you in that boardroom.
Oh yeah, right.
We'll sneak you in a Mickey Mouse costume.
Yeah, there you go.
Pull the head off.
It'd be like that episode of The Office when Michael Scott sneaks into the boardroom on the little like cart that they wheel in with like Cheez-Its and blue cheese dressing on top. Anyway,
what show did we start talking about? Quantum Leap. That's right.
I believe it was Quantum Leap. That's correct. So Quantum Leap Nomad airs this Wednesday.
Well, I'm excited to listen to your interviews this Wednesday with the folks from the show.
Yeah. It was great to have Dean and Drew on, and there's the possibility that I might have another guest, which at the risk of, I don't want to say anything because, if it doesn't happen, I don't want to disappoint. But we were scheduled to, and they had something come up, completely understandable. So I'm just trying to see if we'll be able to do it before the episode airs on Wednesday. And if we can, great. If we can't, I'm sure we'll get it done in the next week or two. But it was great to speak to Dean and Drew. I always love talking to them. And the thing that was really nice is that we were, without really meaning to, we focused much more on the characters than we did necessarily like the Leap plot. We talked about the Leap plot a bit, but it was really great to kind of do a bit of a deeper dive onto the characters and the relationships and kind of what things mean, especially positioning things for these characters going into the mid-season finale. And Drew had a lot of really great insights, in particular just kind of about the overall scope, whereas Dean was able to talk more to the heart of the episode since he wrote it. But there's some great tidbits too about production and filming in Egypt, and Dean of course was not able to take part in any of that because of the writer's strike, so he had a unique perspective kind of on that. But yeah, it was fascinating to think about, like, basically it was like 4 actors and a crew, and they went to Egypt and they shot, some of this stuff, and they used like Egyptian locals for some of the actors and that sort of stuff. And then, they came back and then they shot some of the other scenes, but it was really fascinating, honestly.
It's incredible. I mean, I didn't even realize that shows did that, that network television shows did that anymore. Save for, I don't know. Remember when Friends went to London?
Right.
It's incredible. Yeah, it's amazing. And the episode speaks for itself. So.
Yeah. And apparently that was a Martin thing, because Martin, I guess, was just sort of like, we can do this, and this is how it's done. Because I guess I think it was on the Blacklist. They did a couple of episodes that they filmed in other parts of the world, and so he had a little bit of experience about doing that, and it's like, we can do it, this is how we do it, where should we go? And Dean tells a funny story about kind of like when they were brainstorming where to go, and at one point Martin was like, no, like, you're thinking small, like, think big, think
we're shooting this next episode on the moon.
Yeah, right. We're going to space for real this time. But anyway, yeah, so be sure to check that out, because it was a lot of fun, and I always love getting the chance to speak with them, and I'm grateful for them sharing some time with me in order to do that. But
I can't wait.
Yeah,
thanks for sharing time with me to preview the poster and the episode, Sam.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here, and I'm loving the fact that we're getting to do this and getting to collaborate on this stuff, and it feels like such a gift to me. So thank you so much for that. It makes my holidays brighter.
Lovely.
All right. Well, should we get out of here and then we'll do some behind the scenes stuff, which that's right. Patrons can come find over on the Patreon channel. So again, that's patreon.com.
It's the paywall going up.
That's oh boy. But thank you all so very much. I look forward to seeing you again back on Wednesday with a new episode premiering immediately following Nomad, airing on NBC at 8/7 Central. If you're on the West Coast, I can't do the math right now, so I'm sorry, but at some point during the night, head on over to YouTube and catch this, or download wherever you find your podcast. I'll have my full thoughts up, as well as the interview with Dean and Drew, and maybe another special guest. We'll see. But in the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of one another, stay safe out there, and always leap responsibly.